Before we get started, let me thank each and every one of you guys. Alpha Core #1 pre-order campaign is 930,000 in total sales is where we're at. This is actually not up to date. Thank you all so much for closing in on $1 million in total sales, as well as 7,000 total purchases. So go watch that animation if you have not already. You can get more information at rippaverse.com. But there's another thing that I want to discuss, and I have a bit of humility. Perhaps I was wrong about a couple of different things. Number one, I think when we first talked about this, me and Az were going through box office projections. My projection was, let's say I gave them maybe a bit of credit, too much credit, as aka Hill versus Babyface, and you should catch us every Wednesday on Rip and the Silverback, our show. And he talked about how, this could be worse than Flash. And we know how many hundreds of millions of dollars that film lost. The other thing that perhaps I was wrong about was I think I reported on that one thing that said they were on a trajectory to be the second worst in Marvel Cinematic Universe history in terms of its box office opening. I was wrong. It looks like it's the absolute worst. Covering this from CNBC, I'll go through these highlights and I'm going to tell you why I think this is significant. See, key points. The Marvels generated an estimated $47 million domestically over its debut weekend, and that's the lowest in franchise history. So this, from a box office perspective, is the worst in Marvel Cinematic Universe history. Initial predictions saw, which I covered, the latest Marvel Cinematic Universe film opening between 75 and 80 million domestically. So it almost halved. The only MCU film that have opened lower than 60 million have been 2015's Ant-Man and 2008's Incredible Hulk. I mean, considering what Incredible Hulk was and how early it was in that universe. Disney and Marvel Studios have struggled to reconnect with its audience post-game, in-game era. Now, what you're going to see from the media is they're going to blame it on fatigue. That's the easiest out. Well, let's say this. The creatives that are involved or lack thereof, they are not going to be blamed. They're not. They're just, what superhero fatigue and that term does is it blames the audience, really. It's like you just are not interested in this whole entire genre anymore, even though we've seen successes in it. And therefore, there's nothing that the producers can do. It's not a content problem. It's not that they suck at giving you guys what it is that they want. It's not that you guys want. That's not the problem that they're going to say it is. They're just going to blame the audience and say just y'all just not interested. So that gives them an out. And this is why I hate it so much when folks use that term, or I hate the term itself of superhero fatigue. Now, some people would ask, hey, man, why are you covering this? You don't watch these films anymore. You did a big video a couple of years ago after Black Widow saying that was your last thing that you were going to watch with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You also have your own comic book company. Well, that's why I'm covering it and why I think it's important to highlight and give you guys my thoughts on this. Because, well, the genre in itself, if it is superhero fatigue, right, like, we're very much in that with the Rippaverse. We're not seeing that impact, right? In fact, you could argue that it's the complete opposite. There's a lot of enthusiasm with our projects. But why that is, I think, from creatives' perspective, they should be talking about that, okay? Because if you are, unless you're just doing things as passion projects, right? And I think that's what happened with a lot of people here. They used the Marvel Cinematic Universe, comic book superhero movies, and the superhero genre in general, as well as in the comics, as stepping little stools to advance their careers. They didn't really care about any of this. And I told y'all this a while back. They will burn this bad boy to the ground, and then they're going to move on to something else. And you're, as a like comic book guy or gal, you're going to be left to kind of build something else from these ashes. I'm okay with that. But that's what's going to happen. And you got to learn how to navigate. Everybody is. It's a newer market. It's going to change fundamentally. And I think Marvel Cinematic Universe is kind of at the forefront of this whole new change with the creative stuff, because you saw it once, and it wasn't that long ago, believe it or not, where they just could crap out billion-dollar films or crap out to near billion-dollar films. We weren't really having these discussions, even with their bad movies, as if they were going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. This movie is going to lose at this rate, hundreds of millions, not just a couple of million, hundreds of millions of dollars. That is a relatively new phenomena because they used to be able to just crap money. No longer. There's a downward, if there is to be a trajectory, it's not going up. It's going the opposite way. With media really all together with mainstream, I think the demand, though, is still here. And with successes like the Rippaverse and all these independent guys that are doing things with the film stuff, it's showing you that the demand is still there. But maybe it's not going to be controlled by the mainstream. Will there be a mainstream? Of course. I just don't think that they're going to be as successful. They're going through a crisis right now. They're going to have to rein in these budgets altogether. But it's allowing competition. A lot of it's getting more competitive. And people are able to do things that compete with even the mainstream, despite not having access to the resources it is that they have, because people are becoming more aware that they can satisfy that itch and not have to go through them. So that's why this stuff is worth covering, because you're seeing an absolute failure by the mainstream, but you're seeing successes elsewhere. Now, the mainstream thinks everything marches to their beat, so it's easy for them to blame the entire genre when there's an absolute failure. But if you're paying attention and you're seeing where the money's going, and it ain't the genre. There's a lot of money to be made making superhero-based material. It's just from the films and even some of these comics it is that they're making. It's the enthusiasm no longer rests with the mainstream. We're just seeing it elsewhere. And that's just a reality that we're going to have to come to terms with. Alpha Core #1's pre-order is live. Written by the legendary Chuck Dixon and penciled by Joe Bennett. Visit Rippaverse.com to grab a copy and any of the merchandise items. Be sure to also check out the animated trailer for the campaign, which is the latest project from Rippaverse Studios. Y'all be easy.